It's 2026. Will this be the year that you finally write and launch your book? I'm going to break down exactly what it takes to go from big idea all the way to best-selling book in 2026. Maybe you're someone who's been thinking about writing a book for years. This is the time. Maybe you're finally ready to stand out and tell your story. This is the time. Maybe you're looking for a way to grow your business, be seen as the expert, land more speaking engagements, or simply just achieve a lifelong dream. Whatever the reason is, I want to show you exactly how you can write, publish, and launch a successful nonfiction book in 2026. My name is Jake Kelfer. I'm a 4-time best-selling author, and I have helped over 250 plus people write, publish, and launch nonfiction books to grow their impact and their income. Now, I want to do this because at the top of the year, there are a few things that we have to understand. First and foremost, we have to understand how is the landscape changing and how does this impact the style of book we're going to create. Well, there are two big things that I want to address. Number one, and you've probably heard this a bunch, is that people are saying we're in a trust recession. Essentially, what people are saying is that because of the ease to create, because of AI, because of all these things, people are trusting less and less. People are promising more, delivering less. People are creating more, and the quality is decreasing. And so what we want to do is we want to figure out not only how do we write this book, but how do we write this book in a way that will garner incredible trust with our readers, who will eventually become our customers, our top referrers, and really help us be seen as the go-to expert. The second thing we want to really understand is this, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There have been a lot of AI books that have been coming out. So much so that Amazon actually had to put a cap on how many books someone could self-publish in a day because of this. And so what I just want you to understand is this. The more that AI books are coming out, the more and more people are loving human-generated books because people want real experience. They want your perspective. And so when we combine these two things of creating a human-generated book that establishes trust and credibility, this is how you're going to stand out from everybody. This is how you're going to create a book with ease. And this is how you're going to create a book that will actually benefit you for years and years to come. So what is the step? What is the exact step-by-step process? Now, like I mentioned, I've done this 4 times for myself. We've helped over 250 plus authors write books in 50 plus different genres. And what I'm going to do is I want to break down the most important things that you need to know and that you need to do in order to finally write, publish, and launch your book in 2026. So here's the first step. The first step is you have to get started with a great idea. Now, there are a lot of different ideas that you may have, or you may be somebody that is struggling to figure out, well, what should you actually write about, but you know you need to. And so I put together a couple questions that I think will be really, really valuable for you to answer. First question is, what is the result you want people to experience? What do you know? What have you already experienced? What has been your personal transformation? What do people already ask you about? What do you like to solve for other people? What are you well known for already? What can you talk about for hours upon hours? If you answer these questions, it's going to help you formulate the right idea. The second part of finding the right idea is understanding, well, what are my objectives? Am I writing a book to make passive income, or am I writing a book to get high-ticket coaching clients? Am I writing a book to get speaking engagements, or am I writing a book to establish my credibility in a new industry? Based on your objective, you can match that with the ideas you've come up with and figure out often what's the best concept. For example, if you are somebody who does high-ticket coaching and you specialize in personal transformation and you're really in the personal development space, okay, you might want to write a book that is specifically around the framework of which you coach, because then your book will directly lead into your coaching program. If you are trying to just write a book for passive income, maybe you will write a book that can be reached by more of a bigger, broader audience than if you're writing a very niche specific book that leads directly to an offer on the back end. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just about figuring out what's the best idea based on who you are, your experiences, who you want to help, combined with what is your actual target outcome of doing this book. So that's step one. You want to find the right idea, and you really want to make sure that it feels in alignment to you and to the people that you really want to serve. The second step of writing, publishing, and launching your book this year is you want to create an organized outline. And the biggest and the best way that I'm going to share with you on how to do this, and I'm not trying to make this video hours long and do all this stuff. I'm trying to give you really practical, concrete advice that you can implement right away to get you started on writing your book. But it's to create an organized outline. And the way that I want you to do this is I want you to create an outline in 3 parts. The first part is I want you to list out all of the experience that you've had. These are the stories of your lives, your personal transformations, the case studies, the testimonials, the ways in which you've already showcased the result your book is about. This is your experience. These are the stories that are relevant and related to the topic you are teaching upon. The second part of your outline that I want you to do is I want you to create everything that you have expertise on. This will be your teaching component. This is where you're going to list everything that you've learned, everything that you know that would help somebody get that result. All right, so you have your experience, which is the stories. This is going to build the relatability and the trust. And then you have your expertise. This is what you can teach. This is going to show people that you know what it is that you're talking about. And this allows you to build your credibility within your book. Once you have those 2 things, I want you to then create the order in which the reader needs to learn this information. Now, here's the big aha moment that I had, is I thought I had to write my books in chronological order, but in reality, the way that I learned it wasn't the best way. The way that I want to write it is the way that I've learned so that the reader can get the best result, right? Because if I give the reader the way that I experienced it, they're going to be confused just like I was. But if I give the reader the way it should go, it's going to help them get the result faster. So you want to organize your chapters based on the relevant order in which you need to tell a reader for them to get the best result. All right. So that's how you're going to map out your organized outline. The third step to this process is creating your rough draft. All right. Now your rough draft, I want to encourage you to get this thing done in 30 days or less, because here's the truth. Your rough draft is going to be exactly that. It's going to be rough. It's not going to be perfect, just like we wouldn't expect to be perfect at speaking a new language in 1 month. But what we want to do with our rough draft is we want to get all the ideas in the written form as quickly as possible. This will allow us to now be able to revise, go through it again, make some changes, but you'll have all of the pieces that you need to be successful. Now, here are a couple big things to note. Number 1 is don't edit as you go. Focus on progress over perfection. And most importantly is save your work. Track it, save it. I personally like to do a Word document and a Google Doc, so that way I have 2 versions at all times in case something goes wrong. This enables you to be able to be very effective, very efficient, and to get your rough draft done really, really, really quickly. So those are the first 3 steps. Let's move on to step 4. Once you've written your rough draft, it's rough. There's obviously going to be improvements that need to be made. And so we call this selective self-editing. And essentially what you're going to do is you are going to read your book. Now that it's in written form, you're going to read your book from start to finish. And as you're going through it, now you're going to go in and make the changes. You're going to make the edits. This is where you're going to add details to stories. This is where you're going to remove information that maybe actually doesn't fit. This is where you're going to reorganize the chapters in case your flow is a little bit off from your initial outline. This is selective self-editing. And this is where you are going to go through this part for yourself. And what this does is this allows you to get your rough draft done faster, but then it also gives you space to really improve the book to the best of your ability before outsourcing it to professionals. Now, once you've gotten the book as good as you possibly can make it, you're going to move to step 5. And step 5 is where you're going to hire an elite editor. Now, I'll be honest. My very first book, I tried to just have friends who got good grades in English, people who got English degrees, my mom who's a professor, edit my book. And on one hand, it's great. It saves you a ton of money. But the truth is this. If you're trying to create a really high quality book that you're proud of and that you can use for back-end business growth, I highly recommend outsourcing to a professional editor. Now, when you do all of this, there are different types of editing. And in my book, Big Idea to Bestseller, which I'm going to give you a free copy of, I show you and give you scripts on how to know which editing you need. But essentially, you want to hire a professional, work with somebody who primary goal is to make your book as polished as possible. And for some authors, this is a really scary step because it's the first time that somebody else besides you is reading your work, an outside opinion of someone who doesn't yet know you. And that can be really intimidating for a lot of authors, especially first-time authors. And so what I just want you to know is that you're not alone. And what I also want you to know is that this means you care. This means you're excited about it. This means that it actually matters to you. And that's a good thing. But hiring an elite editor, someone who you connect with well, someone who understands your genre and your niche, these are all really great things. Step number 6 is while your book's being edited, if you haven't already done this, you want to choose a title and a subtitle. Now, your title of a nonfiction book, you want it to be intriguing. You want it to be bold. You want it to be easy to remember. The idea of a title for a nonfiction book is to stop the scroll. It's the attention-grabbing headline. It's the thing that's going to make people say, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more. And so that's what you want to do for your title. Typically, you want to keep it short. You don't want it to be super long. I think anywhere from 2 to 5 words is like a great sweet spot. Depending on, your genre, what you want. If there's a phrase that you really love, if there's a phrase you mentioned throughout the book, if there's a methodology. For example, Big Idea to Bestseller. That is what we call a from here to there type of book title. From Big Idea to Bestseller. That's how you know what the journey is going to take you on. It's intriguing, it's short, it's easy to remember. The next thing that you want to address is your subtitle. Now, a great subtitle for nonfiction books often explains what the book is going to be about so that the reader knows exactly what they can expect to learn, what problem they can expect to solve, or what desire they can expect to achieve. And so what you really want to do here is be as specific as possible with your subtitle. The more out there your title is, the more specific your subtitle should be. That's just a general rule of thumb, okay? And the reason for that is because if your title is super obvious what the book is about, you have a little more wiggle room in your subtitle. But if the title is something very unique, or it's a phrase, or it's something out there that's more intrigue, well, then your subtitle, we need to tie it all together so that the reader will actually know what it's all about. Okay? So my subtitle for Big Idea to Bestseller is very, very clear. How to write, publish, and launch a nonfiction book to grow your business and make an impact. I want it to be very, very clear. Okay? And these are things that you can do as well. Next up is step number 7. And this is to create a cover that converts. Now, what I really love when I'm thinking about covers and creating covers is look at what are the best-selling books in your niche. Okay? That sometimes gives you a great idea of what style might work best for you. Next is to ask yourself, do you want this to be the same branding or to start a new brand that you're going to use for years and years to come? So when I wrote Big Idea to Bestseller, our brand colors were black and yellow and white. And so it made sense that I had my book be a direct resemblance to our existing branding. You have to think about that though. Is that what you want, or would you want your book to be slightly different than your main branding colors? If you don't already have an established brand, your book could be the start of it, and then that could lead to your branding colors, which is what I did for my first book. Elevate Beyond was black, neon green, and white. And I used those colors because one of my best friends who had passed away from cancer, his favorite color was that neon green. And so that was my way of kind of deciding how I wanted to begin and what color to use. From there, my entire branding for the first several years after that book, when I started speaking, when I started writing my second book, I used those same colors. So on one hand, you can use your existing brand to determine the color scheme, or you can use your book to help build out the color scheme for your future brand and or business. Another thing to think about when it comes to covers is you often want them to be bold, powerful. Okay. I personally would recommend, unless you are well known, you have a huge following, or you really just want this, I would recommend you going more bold, text heavy, maybe an image, versus making it all about you and having a picture of you on the front cover. All right. Again, this is all preference. You own your book. You have full creative control. You can do what's best for you and your overall outcomes. Next up is to focus on formatting and having your book appear very, very professional and legitimate. So one of the biggest problems with self-publishing is that the quality of the book is so low. And why is this happening? What's happening is people are just taking their Word documents and then they're just formatting them into a random size that then they upload, and that's what gets published. And so if you look at it, the fonts are off, the spacing's off, the alignment's off, and this is a easy way to tell that it's not as legitimate, and it can also create a bad reader experience, which can really harm you if you're trying to use your book for business growth. And so what I always want you to do, and what I always encourage you to do, is make sure that you have your book professionally formatted. And I'll tell you this, okay, I've tried to learn the different softwares, I've tried doing this myself, and while you can do this, it is often just so much easier to outsource this to a professional, okay? And when you do this, you'll often be able to talk with someone who can do your preferences, who can make it a specific style based on what you're looking for. And this is a really great way to establish your book as super legitimate. Because when your book's on a bookshelf next to your favorite author, the last thing we want someone to do is pull out both of them and say, this one's legit, this one looks like shit. We want them to look at them and be like, oh my gosh, this is great. This is really, really good. These look similar. Because then you're perceived even higher. You're perceived at the same level as your favorite author just because the book is formatted properly. Okay? And so that is something really, really important to make sure that you do for your book. Next up is this. Now that the book's produced, it's time to publish your book. And so when you publish your book, there are so many different things that you really need to know, but I want to go over a couple of the big highlights. Number one is there are different places that you can actually publish your book. The two most common ones that I see used most frequently is Ingram Spark and Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing. Now, if you're not trying to do a crazy amount of things with your book, Amazon might be the easiest and it's the fastest. It's also just the number one bookstore in the world, so you might as well put your attention early on into that. But if you want to have expanded distribution, if you want to be able to be picked up in a variety of other places, then you can do both. Now, I won't go super deep into a tutorial on both of these different platforms, but I just want you to know that no matter what, okay, if you are self-publishing or professionally self-publishing your book, you can use either one of these platforms and still retain 100% ownership of your book. Okay, these will both be print on demand services, so you don't have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to have a ton of inventory. But when you professionally publish your book, you always want to make sure that you have a publishing imprint. This is often the name of your company. This is the publisher's company, the publisher's imprint. For example, when we publish people's books, we do it under the publishing imprint Reflect Publishing. Adds a higher layer of legitimacy. But what you don't want to do is just be auto-assigned that. And what you don't want to do is just have people assign you what's called the ISBN. That's like your book ID code. You actually want to make sure that you get your own and you put your own imprint. This raises the level of legitimacy a ton. And so these are just a few things. And I'm happy to go deeper. I have other videos on these specific, very, very specific things. But again, I'm trying to give you a high-level overview of how you can write, publish, and launch a very, very successful book. Now, as you do this, what you'll do is when you publish, you'll upload all your files. You'll upload your ebook on one side, your paperback on the other. You'll upload your front cover. You'll upload your full cover. You'll upload your book description. You'll set your pricing. You'll do all of these things when you do it, and then you'll submit it to go live. You'll pick a release date, and that's how you publish your book professionally. All right. And then the final step is you want to launch your book to bestseller status. Now, when it comes time to actually launching your book to bestseller status, there are a few things that I think move the needle more than anything else. One of them is talking about your book before it's actually launched. So this doesn't necessarily mean doing a big pre-order campaign. It could, but what it really means is that you don't wait for launch day to start telling people that your book's coming out. We want to warm up your audience. We want to get them excited so that when your book does come out, people are already ready to buy. The second thing that I think is a really, really great lever that you can pull is building out a launch team or a street team, or in the simplest way, a group of people who you know will support you on your launch. And this is how you build initial momentum. And you're going to want to ask them to just do a few things. Buy the book. You're going to want to ask them to leave a review and then tell people about it. And if they can do that, this is where you can often get your first 50 to 250 sales plus their networks, which can easily start to drive you up through the rankings. And then the last thing that I would really suggest you do is in your launch, you want to add scarcity and urgency. And the way that we like to encourage this is that when you have launches, you have a special launch price. And you have a special launch price that only is available for a certain amount of time. The reason for this is because, one, it gets people to buy right away, which can help your bestseller ranking. But what it also does is it gives people a reason to buy now. So by lowering the price and having a book launch special price and only having it available for a certain amount of time really drives those early sales, which could be initial momentum. And then I'm going to add a bonus step here. I'm going to add a bonus step is that once your book is launched, get what we call shock and awe exposure. All right, think about this. Think about this. You started with this idea to write a book. You've now spent time, energy, and money into it. You've talked about it. You got this great momentum. You're building up steam. You're getting more attention than you've ever had in your entire life because you've launched this book. Now, let's capitalize on that. Let's get Times Square billboard, press releases, featured articles, news blasts. All of these things will really help you take your credibility to that next level. So at the very beginning, people are trying to figure out, are we in a trust recession? People are trying to say that, oh my gosh, is this real or not? Are you as legit as you say you are? The more we can create with this book, the better of an advantage you're going to create for yourself. The more you can take this book and utilize it and show people that you know what you're talking about, that you're very legit and that you have the experience and the expertise to back it up, the quicker you're going to be able to stand out, the quicker you're going to be able to see the results that you're aiming for. And so if I was going to be writing a book right now and I was going to be writing a new book, this is the process that I would follow. This is the process that I've refined and really, really improved over the last decade of writing books. This is the process we refined after helping 250 plus authors do the same thing. And so my hope for you is that this is the year you stop waiting and you start doing. This is the year that you commit to yourself and you get this thing done fast. You get this thing done this year and you're using it to monetize, to create an impact, and ultimately to just say you're an author. Because it's awesome. It's awesome. And I want that for you. And so, look, I know I went through all of these steps at a very high level. If you really enjoyed this, okay, I want to give you a copy of my book, Big Idea to Bestseller, which is the roadmap to writing a successful book. And you can read this book in one of two ways. One, to actually learn more about the process, or two, to see how am I actually positioning and organizing my book, kind of like I described a little bit earlier. And so if you want a free copy of that, go to www.bigidea2bestseller.com/free-book. And if you are someone who's ready, you're tired of waiting, you know you want some help, and you would love to actually map out your entire roadmap and a timeline for you to go from where you're at today all the way through a successful best-selling launch campaign, then go to www.bigidea2bestseller.com/call. You can book a completely free demo with me and our team, and we will walk through what you want from the book, what's stopping you or what could get in your way from the book, and then we'll actually map out what are the steps you need to take to make this happen. That's what I got for you today. We're in the new year. Let's make some magic happen and let's get your book out. Talk to you later.